When I was a kid, my dad was in the military just before he got off to college, and it was a possibility. And he said, "You'll never make it in the military." And I said, "Why?" He said, "You ask too many questions." Yes, Paul Riedner is our interview, and this is why he served well in the military and didn't stick it out in the military and has completed a trajectory that's astonishing. He asks a lot of questions. How he got into the military at the age of 28, after being a commodity broker, after being a three-sport athlete, how he decided to serve as a deep sea diver in the Army and then get out and then start to kind of question the whole thing with more and more questions. And now how he has turned that in a way to help veterans and to serve his community is probably one of the more remarkable stories you'll ever hear. Okay. That's what I love about these stories. By the way, if you know somebody with a good story, let me know. I love talking to people with great stories, and you will love hearing the story of Paul Riedner. That's why I like that story. I'm Jeff Gould, America's storyteller. I have found it amazing that people like to interview famous people about famous things, and they miss so many great stories. The man you're about to talk to, I think, was maybe like a quarter of a turn on the knob away from being somebody you'd know in the athletic world. He was just this far away from being a professional athlete. And then he did some things in the world that I think are amazing, right? I mean, he was a deep sea diver. What is that even? That sounds exciting, doesn't it? He was in the U.S. Army. He was a commodity trader working in China. And then somebody said, "Why aren't you involved in Iraq?" And so he did do that. And then he got involved in that. And then he got out of that and started thinking about veterans and what does it mean to be a veteran and how can we help veterans. And it's just a really fascinating story that I don't really know much about because I try not to know too much before I interview my guests. That way I discover it just as you do. So he's been featured in local publications in Minnesota and the big newspapers of the area. He works on the Veterans Resilient Project. He's the executive director. He leads a project called Shadow Culture and What the Truck. So this is a guy who is somebody to know. And I know that you're going to find this interview absolutely fascinating. And that's why I like that story. Hi, Paul Riedner. How are you today?
Doing well, Jeff. How are you?
I said that you were this far away from getting into the professional athlete. I'm right, aren't I? I mean, 1,000 points. I mean, you were scouted by certain teams. I'm right. Tennis, right? I mean, how close were you to going pro?
Well, if you had asked me, I was really close, but I don't think it was in the cards for me. But I was a natural athlete. Just give me the ball, show me how it works, and I could pick it up pretty easily. And as a young man, I wasn't that interested in like the worldly things. I just wanted to compete and play sports. And as I grew up, older and more life experiences, then I got more interested in those worldly events.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Yeah. 6'5", about what, 220, 230 maybe?
Yeah, about 215.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. You still get out and get after it, do you?
No, a little bit. I play tennis with the kids, some basketball, some frisbee. I try to stay active, and I knock on wood, I've stayed relatively healthy.
But no joints, no replacements, nothing yet, huh?
No, but I've had, a number of injuries in the military, and then just the toll of all those sports over the years. And just projects like, we renovated our house in Minneapolis that we sold a few years ago. Now we're out in Excelsior, built a chicken coop, and, projects around the house and that keep me busy. And
well, there's nothing more dangerous than building a chicken coop. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, actually needed knee surgery and partially tore a tendon in my bicep.
Building a chicken coop.
Yes, sir.
So, As you're waiting to get sewed up, you're thinking, okay, deep sea diver sports, and it's a chicken coop that gets me. Oh, dang it.
Yeah, but hey, that didn't slow me down though. We got her built, and we
That's
got
right.
nine chickens in the backyard. That give us these amazing fresh eggs every single day.
So you're in it for the hens and the eggs. Do you
Yes, sir.
process them too? I mean, that's a nice way of saying killing them and eating them. To know that they're going to live a ripe old age and die. Is that the plan?
Well, if you ask the family, yes. If you ask me, they're only a year old, and if we have issues with the chicken, then yes, I will definitely turn them into soup. But right now, it's just the eggs, and then the experience for the whole family of
Yeah.
having,
Yeah.
being close to the food that you eat.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's the way I grew up. I'll do a tangent. Normally, I like to interview my guests, but I'm just going to share with you. When I was a kid, I brought a guy home from college, and my mom was a little bit surprised, and she says, "Well, hang on a second. I'll get out to the hen house." You went out to the hen house and got some eggs out of the hen house, and then she opened up the refrigerator, and they're wrapped in a white, towel. Was a side of pork that she took a cleaver and chopped off because we had hogs, and she'd get involved and she cured the bacon. She had the recipe and dry cured the bacon. So she chops off that. And while that's cooking, there is a loaf of bread out of the oven, and she cut that. And then she said, well, wait a minute. Now we just had some preserves, and we had strawberries, and she made some preserves, and she made this meal for us. It took her about 10 minutes. And my friend is looking at me with this look, and I go, what? What are you talking about? He says, you always eat like this? Well, I did not know what he was talking about, Paul. I did not know what he was talking about. I would give any amount of money to go back to that table and eat that meal one more time.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting that how foreign that is for some people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
My wife, she cooks, homemade sourdough bread. Everything's from scratch, and then
does
with
does the bread
chickens.
have a name? I'm told that sourdough starter has to have a name. Have you heard about this?
I have actually. I couldn't tell you what her name is for it. She does have one though.
So I send out questions to my guests. Now, the story on this is that at the end of the show, you can ask me any question you want. I'm going to pepper you. I'm going to annoy you. I'm just going to pick your brain on a lot of different topics. And then you'll get revenge by being able to ask me one question at the end of the program. But let's start with the Jeopardy board that I sent out to you. What is your question today for me on Jeopardy?
Well, Jeff, I'll take stupid and ridiculous for 1,600.
Stupid and ridiculous for 1,600. Which institution drives you crazy because it's stupid and ridiculous?
Congress.
Bing, 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 bing. It's double Jeopardy. There you go. Yes, yes. That's so funny. So tell me why.
Well, I could say Congress. Maybe I'll say the modern U.S. government. I don't really know where one begins and ends, but honestly, after this, partly after hearing your presentation and then leading up to 4th of July, I've just been thinking about, the founding documents of founding fathers, thinking about Thomas Paine's Common Sense, talking about, that society is a good entity, but we have a necessary evil, which is the need for some form of government, right? So that we're not all having to protect ourselves 100% of the time, and we can share and pool resources at some level. But at some point, if the government is not doing what is in the best interest of the people, it needs to be refreshed. And it's been so long since we've done that. It's clear. Do you
see a third? I just see I said that pendulum is swinging so far out that I really believe a third party is going to show up. Because I'm not a political person. I'm not a member of either party, but I'm a little frustrated with how these parties are not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm a little frustrated that you can have a private enterprise, a Republican Party, a Democratic Party, and they get to determine who I get to vote for 100%. And that has always kind of bothered me. I don't know a way around it. but I think that there's enough of me out there that I'm wondering if there's a grassroots third party, whatever, that might come up and help solve this issue. Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
and I've been waiting and hoping for that third party to get whatever that threshold is, 5% or 10%, where they start to get funding on an even basis. So yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm an independent. I have things I agree with the Democrats on, things I agree with the Republicans on, but I think the system is so foul that I don't even want to be involved in any of the official channels. I am involved on a local basis. Like right now, we're working with the school board here in Minnetonka schools, and those are the really tangible things toward that affect my family more than some of the larger issues. But yeah, I really do hope for that. Like my wife's from Poland; they're over there right now. They have to create a coalition, right, across parties to form a government. I like that idea. Not just having just two wings of the same bird, which I think is no matter who is in office, the bird tends to go in the same direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, it changes, 2 degrees or so. The problem is that the wingtips are getting so far out, left or right. Now it averages out, but I don't want to vote for a super left wing person. I don't want to vote for a certain right wing person. I want people to figure out what 90% of us are worried about, which is, how am I going to get my kids through school? How am I going to pay for it? What about my health care? What about affordable housing? The basics that 90% of people would say, I want to vote for that person. And I'm not seeing that. And it's frustrating. And I'm sure I'm not alone. But I do believe, and I'm an optimist. I do believe that there is a solution. I'm just waiting for that to become evident. I'm waiting for just the right sentiment. And then I think that will happen, is my hope. Right?
Yeah. There's a lot we all agree on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. How'd you get into commodity sales?
Well, when I returned from China, back to my
home. I should start there. How'd you wind up in China? What year is this?
This is 2003.
How old are you?
20. Well, let's see. It would have been 2002, 2003. Yeah, so 25, 26.
And you just said, I'm going to go to China now?
Well, I was in my hometown in Red Wing, teaching and coaching. And I found out that we have a sister city program with a city in China. And the director was my elementary school teacher in Red Wing. And we were reconnecting, and she said, for this teacher exchange that we have, all the teachers are always, they're retired from teaching, and then they, have free time and fewer, commitments. So they go overseas and they love it, but we've never had the opportunity to send a younger person. And, you don't have a family yet. What do you think? So I was like, absolutely. So I was,
let's do it.
Yeah.
What are you teaching? And what are you, elementary, high school, what?
Everything. I was still uncertain on my career path. So I was as a substitute teacher because I had a degree. And of course, they were utilizing me with the basketball and tennis programs.
Which you were doing pretty well, by the way. Side hustle. You took Red Wing to the top in tennis. Am I right?
Yeah, we did. We went from the cellar to the top. I mean, we didn't win state, but in a few short years, really turned that entire program around and became a state power.
I want to say that in certain sections of Red Wing, Minnesota, you can walk down the street and somebody's you don't have to buy a drink in Red Wing. Am I right? That they say, hey, come on in here, Paul. Let's get one up for a coach. All right. So, and then somebody threw a wrench in that and invited you to China, and your trajectory changed again. So go ahead. Now you're in China.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I just fell in love with the Chinese people and the history of the Cultural Revolution. At that time, you could still find some older people that would talk to you about living under communism. And in fact, they really reflected fondly on those times.
And why was that, do you think?
because everyone was fairly equal. There wasn't these stratified social classes and economic differences. Nothing was perfect, but they they could reflect on the market economy of the current days versus what they had grown up in, and they missed it. So that was an interesting perspective for me to get. And also, while I was there, was the lead up to the Iraq War. So I was witnessing these worldwide protests, and these were massive. You remember those times, right? Those were a lot of people going out and protesting this planned invasion of Iraq. So and then
are we talking about? We're talking about 1990. Which one are we talking about? We talking about George Senior or George Junior?
Junior. So it would have been
okay.
We invaded in March of 2003.
Okay, so this is after 9/11.
Yeah. And so I watched the invasion from the state media in China, but then through the internet, I watched the coverage, the American coverage, and I got to see the differences.
Interesting. So what year? So is this? So you're in China, and then the towers are bombed?
No. Right. So 9/11 happened, and then it was, we did go to Afghanistan, but then it was this whole, hey, we're going to go into Iraq because they had weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
And it was this whole campaign in the public to justify that what we were going to do. And the whole world was like, hold on, why are you going to Iraq?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I was there for, the lead up and then the actual invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, all my friends and my other teachers and business friends that I had, when we would go out to dinner, they would all ask me questions about why was the U.S. doing this? And I was completely against the Iraq War, but I tried to do justice of the argument they were making. So I was trying to explain it to them, even though I didn't think it was legitimate. And check this out.
I had questions. I mean, it seemed to me like, it seems like what we're really is we're still awfully mad and somebody's got to pay. I don't know why we decided. Anyway, I will say I do remember, absolutely remember, and this was common, talked about every day in the coffee shops of America. After the first war with George Sr., your average guy would put down his cup of coffee or beer and say, one more day would have been in Baghdad. Like, what did we stop there? I mean, because, George Sr. built this coalition that we would go so far and no further. And common prevailing wisdom all across this country with guys, if we'd have just gone one more day, we'd have gotten rid of Saddam Hussein and we'd all be done with this. And that is maybe what held forth when this happens. Did you learn the lesson? And then you realize that when a government collapses, you get anarchy, and then you don't know what you're going to get. It is probably what I guess the moral of that story is, if you can get a moral out of it.
Yeah.
So so you're in China, and then a shopkeeper asks you, "Why aren't you in this war?" Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was at one of those outdoor marketplaces. They would call it like a bazaar in many countries, and I'm just looking at the wares that they're selling, and I noticed the shopkeeper is talking to my friend Michael, who was a Chinese English teacher, and he comes back over to me afterwards, and I was like, "What was that about?" And he said, "Well, the shopkeeper was wondering if you were American." And when I told them that you were, then she asked, "Why isn't he in Iraq?" And I was like, that kind of stunned me in a way, because here I am, military aged male, right? And our country is invading Iraq, and there's thousands of my brothers and sisters being tasked with doing that, put themselves in harm's way for our country. And I'd never, ever considered joining the military. And that question just kind of hung with me for a number of years and became a part of my life story, actually.
There's a box that has a series of check boxes in life that you don't realize. And I'll call it the good person list. And one of those check boxes is did you serve your country? I never checked that box, right? I mean, I think you're born to a time and a place. I was of age, probably around 1980, give or take. And nothing big was going on. It was after Vietnam. It really wasn't a popular choice. My grandfather and my dad were in the military. My dad wasn't a fan. So it just really wasn't something that I thought about as an option. I just thought it was, a distraction and not what I needed to do. But as the years have gone on, I'm with you a little bit. I can imagine, well, why didn't you serve? I just think that's a common thing, that when you live in a country and you love the country, it's almost like a irresistible force, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's often a rite of passage for
That's a great way to say
Americans. We don't have many other non-military related rites of passion, or not rites of rite of passage.
Yeah.
So
I know what you're saying.
Like when you become a man, or how do I earn my place as not a child anymore? And
that's a whole fascinating topic of various cultures on how they turn children into adults. And there's a ceremony that's kind of interesting where the kid leaves and he comes home and his mom pretends that she doesn't know who he is, and because now he's grown up and now he's a man, and there's this kind of this journey that they go on, which we don't have, except maybe the military. So how old are you when you decide that you're going to join the military?
28 years old.
28. So you come home and you say, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to join did you decide on the Army right then?
No. I was working at the Board of Trade in Chicago, and just kind of had a crisis of meaning, I guess I would call it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can make money doing this and this, I'm providing some sort of service for the marketplace, but didn't mean anything to me. And I was searching for something with meaning and purpose. And every day I would do yoga. Then I would play basketball at the gym, and was not drinking, no drugs, and just getting clear and thinking about what brings me joy and what provides a meaning for myself. And I boiled it all down to the element of water. Growing up on the Mississippi River in Red Wing, my dad was a Navy submariner. I just loved being in and around the water. And so I started to talk to different branches of the military. And I said, if you can find something that involves the water, I'd listen to you and see if that might be an option.
Mm.
And then one day the Army recruiter, he's like, hey, I got something for you. Let me swing by. And pulled out his laptop and showed me a U.S. Army deep sea diver, the explosives, the salvage, the surface supplied with the large helmet, like you can see in this picture back here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then the scuba diving. And I was immediately like, let's do this.
Those silver-tongued devils, they get you, don't they?
Yeah.
So were you married at this time? No? Okay. Still a free on the market, free agent. You mentioned something about drugs. Were you struggling with that before this happened?
No, I just meant like there was no I wasn't going out on the weekends and, smoking pot and drinking or doing all that stuff.
When you worked for the Board of Trade, what were your commodities you were trading?
Soybean options and futures. Good Midwest.
From my farm reporter days, maybe you didn't realize this, that you were on one end dictating the price, and I was on the other end saying, and in the markets, we look at October soybeans, futures.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
You're listening to the Linder Farm Network, and I would talk about that. And I'd get on the phone and talk to these guys and try to puzzle it out. And It's a it's a good system, but it's a little esoteric. It's a little bit confusing. You're trying to buy and trade on grain in your farm, and you're trying to project it out so that you can get the better possible price. So as a farmer, you're saying, okay, do I wait or do I sell now? Do I wait? My price might go up, or do I lock it in now? And there's this. This is why farming is so difficult, because not only are you dealing with the weather, every single day you're asked, do I sell now or do I wait? And the minute you think you can make a profit, you go, I might make more. And this is the whole world of farming, crop farming anyway, and I'm sure livestock as well. All right, so you were living what I would say would be like an idyllic life, the working in commodities and in Chicago, which is a beautiful city. 28 years old, single guy, and then you're left with this. I think something that would be irresistibly challenging to an athletic guy who doesn't necessarily have an oar in the water, and now it's deep sea diving for the Army, which sounds like a movie. I have not seen this movie yet, but I feel like this is a movie in the offing. What exactly is your job as a deep sea diver in the Army?
It's vast. I mean, anything that happens in or on the water, the Army, for instance, the Army has more boats than the Navy, right? So
okay, I'm going to stop right there because I did not know that. The Army has more boats, or did you say ships? A boat and a ship are different.
More ships, I guess. So we have to move our equipment around the world somehow, right? We're a land force, but how do you get there?
Huh. Well, I just thought you hitched a ride on the Navy. All right, I guess I didn't. So you have more. Okay, interesting.
So, yeah, and it's so we would do. I mean, even just in my four short years, we did a submarine salvage. I dove on a World War II bomber that was down off the coast of France to return the rear gunner for a POW MI accounting command mission.
I'm just going to stop right now because I want to talk about all of these.
Okay.
You said a submarine?
Yes, sir.
Was this like a World War II submarine, or was it one of those atomic submarines that we hear about once in a while?
It was an old Russian submarine off the coast of Providence, Rhode Island, that sunk. It was docked, and it sunk after I don't know, like a nor'easter or one of those storm systems that brought the swell into port. And
what were they doing in a U.S. port?
This wasn't a Russian operational submarine. It was turned into like a museum. And so we use this as a training exercise.
Oh,
with
okay.
The Navy was also there, but this is an example of some of the salvage capabilities that we have. And then,
how deep down?
This was about 60 feet.
Well, that's not so bad.
We don't go super deep.
Okay.
I mean, we were rated to 235.
Okay.
So most of the work is near the shoreline.
Okay.
Piers and ports. We can do inspections of like large locks and dams, like in the Pacific Northwest. We would do inspections of the understructures. We use hydraulic tools, explosives. The training itself was 7 months long down in Panama City, Florida, because of all the different capabilities that we had to get trained up on.
Did you ever do welding?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So I talked to an underwater welder, which they would say is like the highest hourly wage. And then he told me these things, and you can verify these things. I said, how do you avoid getting a shock? He said, you get a shock. Are you aware of this, right?
Oh, yeah.
I said, well, what do you mean like a shock? Like a scale of like 1 to 10? Oh, about a 6. I said, what? The whole time you're welding, you're getting a shock of about 6? Yeah, about right. Well, what? And I said, well, doesn't that hurt? Oh, you can only do it for a couple of hours, and you got to take the rest of the day off. And then you can only do it for like 2 months. and then you got to lay off for like 6 months because your body's nervous system. Are you familiar with all of this?
Absolutely. He's telling the truth.
I said, so suddenly, that's the last job I want, is to be an undersea water welder. That's the first job that robotics is welcome to have.
Right.
Go ahead, robots, get after it. No need. Wow. And you did this.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's the thing. Diving itself is dangerous enough. And then you're doing all these other construction and demolition type activities with explosives and Broco torches and welding.
What's a Broco torch?
It's a method of cutting. So it's like the opposite of welding, but cutting metal off of structures underwater. And like on that submarine salvage, we had to put bands underneath the submarine so that we could attach lift bags to the sides. And that's one of the methods of lift to bring it up to the surface. So
sounds fairly straightforward.
Yeah. And one of the jobs that I had was tunneling underneath it to make space for this band. So at one point I needed to take a break. So they're like, all right, you're on a 5-minute break. So I'm like, all right, so just lay back. I'm laying underneath this massive submarine thinking, and now you start thinking, I'm like, I'm just between the earth and this freaking submarine. What am I doing here? Right? I'd rather just keep working.
I have felt a similar way, not nearly as risk, is whenever you're under a jacked vehicle and you just look up this vehicle and go, wonder what that jack breaks on me. I'm in trouble. Right.
Best not to think about it.
Best not. So I always think that the floor of the ocean is just like mud and it's pretty easy, but I guess not, huh? It's whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of mud, but you just don't want it. And we're messing with the internal buoyancy of this submarine. So you just don't want it to do any shifting, because at that point you lose control of.
So in the movies, you hear this, but can you hear any of that when you're outside it? I mean, do you know what's happening?
You could hear some inside. I never heard it outside. And what's fascinating, when you're inside with all the oil and mud, there's zero visibility. So we would work on the top side. We would look at these blueprints of the internal compartments, and then we would have to navigate with our minds because we couldn't trust our eyes. So it was tilted on its side, so we would be walking on the walls, right? And you have to kind of track where you are with this other orientation, and you're completely just using spatial intelligence and your mind. And
I mean, you have no light at all. They don't give you a flashlight, so
you do, but it doesn't illuminate anything. There's no visibility. And so if you me,
it would make me more comfortable. So otherwise, I would just feel like I would give me claustrophobia. At least if I could see nothing, I would feel better than like not even having. Anyway, go ahead.
That's why. So I was one of 17 initial entry soldiers to pass the washout course to be a diver. Right.
Which I'm assuming involves a terrible claustrophobia in a space when you're lost. Am I right about that?
The claustrophobia wasn't really tested. It was more put you in the pool and beat the shit out of you until you say, I can't do this anymore. So most of those people didn't fail because they couldn't complete a task. They were like, no, thank you. DOR, drop on request. I'll go do some other job. But that's the thing. If you're not comfortable in the water, there's no way you're going to succeed.
Okay, what are they doing to punish you? What do you mean by in the water? Were they throwing bricks at you or something? What are they doing?
It's just like physical training, PT. You're doing PT in the pool. So you're just swimming laps. You're diving to the bottom to retrieve items over and over again. You're treading water, holding weights in your hand. Guys would get bloody noses, blown eardrums because of the pressure changes going from the surface to the bottom over and over and over again over a short period of time.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to find out who really doesn't want this.
You know, I've seen that and I hear that, and I ask myself, I mean, how much of that is necessary? Like you're a washout. For example, I'll just give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
It's different, but it's the same. My brother's a doctor, and they don't want all these doctors. There's too many kids, so they make him take organic chemistry. And organic chemistry is a class where you have to memorize the molecular structure of about 1 million different compounds, and you got to draw it out. And it's the stupidest thing ever because nobody ever uses it. It can easily be looked up in any kind of book or manual, but it's a hard thing to do. And they do it as a way to weed out certain med students because they only want so many. And I feel like maybe you got a task to do. Do I need to hurt people? How many eardrums do I need to bust before I get my group down to a manageable 17? It's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah. And that changes over time. Sometimes the need for divers is greater. So they'll lighten, right, those requirements somewhat because it's a difficult job. Like there was only one woman that had passed this training over this extended period of time, not because they don't want women, it's because the physical requirements of the job were such that most women couldn't complete those tasks.
A physical strength, upper body strength.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to lift 80 pounds. You got to lift it 900 times. Right.
And you got to lift yourself with a lot of gear on. Right. So pull-ups that's what normally got the women out, were the requirements for pull-ups. But
back in the day, how many could you rip off?
Not that many. I'm 6'5" and not a small frame, but I could do 13, 14. But the cutoff was 6. That's it. But you do that after a 2-mile run, a mile swim, or what, I can't remember the distances, the push-ups and the sit-ups, and then you do the pull-ups.
Yeah. All right. Part of that is, I imagine, a confidence booster, right? Mm-hmm. The few, the proud, the deep sea divers.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you build bonds of trust, too, is going through difficult things together.
You still got buddies from those days?
Yeah.
You get together?
We do, yeah.
Are they doing okay?
They are mostly, yeah. We've lost a couple guys to challenges, post-military. But yeah, like I have a good crew that are, they're each going in their own directions. Some like a firefighter, a lawyer, a tech sales guy that just, they're all crushing it in their own different ways.
I find the military interesting in this way, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. Somebody will go into, and the structure of it, and maybe some of the pressures and tests and challenges, they emerge, and then like trajectory changes in a really positive way. And then we'll say, well, it's because of what I did in the military. And then some other person, trials, stresses, tribulations, it crushes them, and their trajectory goes the other way. And I cannot find any rhyme or reason to it. What do you think?
Well, one component of that is adverse childhood experiences. So the people in the military come from many different walks of life, but there are more people that are trying to escape a negative home life than in other fields.
I would agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So oftentimes the struggles post-military are because of those experiences before the military, combined with difficult things that happen in the military and the difficult challenge of coming back to a civilian world that doesn't quite get what they're asking military people to do or what those challenges are. And that disconnect is serious. But it's vast, like the reasons why people serve, also how well they can cope with some of the challenges, given where they've come from and what they've already experienced in life.
I can imagine that if I was from a dysfunctional family and just chaotic, the family, the organized structure of a well-run machine would be very appealing. And I could get that in the military, and I never got that earlier in my life. So that would be a positive, I guess, unless they come out and now what do I do? Now where's my structure? Is that part of it?
Yeah, 100%.
I talked to a woman who was a veteran, and she said something to the effect of like, it's really hard to leave the military and make pizzas. And I said, say more. She says, well, it just seems kind of trivial and meaningless. And here you are, just walking around, making pizzas. And it just seems like, what's the statistic? Is it how many veterans take their life? Is it every 22 seconds? It's a horrible statistic. You're familiar with it.
Yeah, the number was for many years 22 per day.
22 a day.
But that is drastically underestimating the ones that aren't directly tied to taking your own life, like drinking yourself to death, or even suicide by cop. So that
adrenaline junkies.
That number is up to 44 per day.
Wow. And then people I know who are veterans who just do, I would say, I wouldn't say stupid stuff, but I'll say stupid stuff. They do high risk hobbies that just aren't probably a good idea to do for a long period of time. And they'll say it's the adrenaline. I got to get some of that somehow.
Yeah, imagine being like a special forces soldier and then coming back and into a world where you're divorced from any danger and risk in almost every way.
So I interviewed a guy on this show who was a rodeo bull rider, and he was addicted to the adrenaline. He busted himself up bad. He finally broke every bone that you could use to ride a bull. So he got into what he could, which was ironically, Paul, stand-up comedy, because he could face a death on stage. And that's the only adrenaline that he could find that he could live with.
That's really interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Fearless.
Yeah. Talk to me about so you get out of the military. And I tell you why I asked Paul to do this interview. Because I did this program called America's Story. The American story is the most remarkable story in the history of human governments. I don't say that it's great, it's excellent. I say that in the course of all the governments we've ever seen, this is the one to be remarked the most on. They will be commenting on this story thousands of years after it's over, studying it, because it is so remarkable. And I love it. But, that's okay to sometimes have griefs with people that you love and institutions that you love. So anyway, the choir is singing, and they do the various anthems from the various militaries, and they do the Army one. And this tall drink of water stands up and kind of does this, and then he sits down. He doesn't stand up during the whole thing. And it wasn't that he was dismissive or angry. It was just an interesting reaction. And that guy was Paul. And talk to me about what that means to you. You're a veteran. You served well. It was a good job that you did well. But you seem somewhat ambivalent about having been a veteran.
Well, do you remember when I walked up to you, you asked me, you're like, oh, you're the guy that gave... Well, what I really did was a half-ass salute and then sat down. And you're like, you're the guy that did that. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I told you, my answer was, I don't like being told what to do. And you instantly, you could see through that. You're like, is that it? And I was like, no, it's not it. But that is true. Like for me, I don't have any allegiance to the Army. Right. I have allegiance to my country, to my brothers and sisters, to the American people, but I don't to any institution like that. So to me, standing there at salute during the Army song is not something that I feel I should do. I served reluctantly to learn more about the experience of war to sacrifice with my countrymen, to share that sacrifice. I didn't do it for patriotism or because I felt like we should invade Iraq or any of those other reasons. So I'm not reluctant at being a veteran. It's complicated. I'll say that.
I'll say to that, I think when you say thank you, at least for me, when somebody who has served, I want to thank them. And it's not about the war. It's not really about the branch of the service. It's the appreciation that they did something for me. For me. They don't know me. And they could have lived their life like I did. And they took, you don't know what exactly you're going to do. You that's what you do. You follow orders. And some of those orders are, what are we doing here? And then all of a sudden you get hurt or you get killed or maybe you get bored or maybe I don't know what. You don't know. But you gave that to me, a perfect stranger, because of your, I guess, love of country. I mean, and we call that patriotism, and then we call that blind patriotism. And that's two different things. That's not my country, right or wrong. That's blind patriotism. It's like, I heard one of the founding fathers say this. He said, if you love your family, you should love your country more, because the greatest risk to your family is your country, and your greatest ally is your country. So, and maybe maybe he didn't say country, maybe he said government.
Right.
The idea being that your government is going to be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. So if you love your family, then you got to pour into your government more, because that's how important it is. And I call that patriotism. That's my definition of patriotism.
Yeah.
So you're out of the Army, a reluctant veteran, and then you start talking about, tell me about you mentioned this passing when we first talked, that you would go to places and say, hey, do you know how much money we're spending on military stuff? Talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, there was this group called the Minnesota Arms Spending Alternatives Project. Minnesota ASA.
The Minnesota Arms Spending Alternative Project. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and it had a resolution that we would take to city councils so that they would recognize that their budget deficits are related to the defense spending that continues to rise. And we're trying to support our local communities with fewer and fewer dollars. And so we wanted to make that connection strong for these local officials. And, we had a lot of successes and got that resolution passed in a number of cities in Minnesota. But it was, it's not an easy thing to fight. I mean, no one wants to come across as being anti-military or anti-America or, all these catchphrases and things that stop legitimate conversations from happening. So I went to my hometown too and did the math. I can't remember what the numbers were. It was something like $88 million for Iraq and Afghanistan from my hometown.
Okay. So that your hometown spent $88 million. How big is the town?
15,000 people.
Wow. Oh, wow. So 15,000 people with their tax dollars spent $88 million on the two Iraq wars. And then the question is, what would you have done with that money differently?
Yeah, I mean, there's good research on investing in education and the return that you get. Much higher than, military industrial complex type spending.
And what I like about that, and I imagine that people could say that's a biased question, but I think that's just good information, right? You, the voter, this is what this is going to cost you, and giving the choice, and the pie is only so big. Do you want, school sizes, classroom sizes to drop by 4? So it's 25, or do you want to, and the equipment is colossally expensive, and the lobbying and for that. And just so what you don't see is a guy buttonholing his congressperson and saying, hey, I'm lobbying on behalf of my local school board. That's usually it's the big guys. It's the big corporations that are making the big heavy stuff. And it's interesting. You don't say either or. You say yes or no. You say, do we want? Look at what's going on in Ukraine. Are we running out of ammo? Yeah, we should probably have a couple of hundred more of these, whatever, witchamajiggies. That makes sense to me. You don't want to run out.
All right.
And what you don't know is what that costs you on the other end, because you don't get a chance to compare. That's a great project. Now, I'll say this. By and large, most people have an either or. Are you on this side or are you on this side? And if you're not on this side, then you're on that side. And it's just this binary argument. And I've always asked myself, well, isn't there a third option? Who put that line there? Why can't there be another solution? And, that makes me somewhat, that's why I don't get involved in politics, because I get tired of the two sides I have to choose. I always say, well, what about this other option? And in the echo chamber that's social media, you're not allowed to talk about that. So I usually stay out of it because I got other things to do. But this concept that you have, is it still around? Is it still working?
No.
Huh?
No, that was, let's see, that was probably 2013. It was after I got out of business school, after I wrote an article reflecting on the Iraq War for it was an assignment that I got at the public policy school here in Minneapolis. When they published my op-ed, I got all these people responding to me because they really appreciated what I shared, and then got invitations to this group. And since then, I've sort of switched over to just supporting veterans. I'm no longer trying to stop the military industrial complex, which is like trying to steer a huge freaking ship with an oar, So although I still feel the same way, if someone thanks me for my service, I'm like, well, what exactly are you thanking me for? How did our work in Iraq support you? And that's a question I like people to reflect on, like, because there are legitimate uses of our military, our blood, our treasure, our time, but it's not always being used for the right causes, and it costs us a lot.
Carlson School of is it business or Carlson?
Management. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's a rough school, buddy. I mean, that's the equivalent of your deep sea diving. That they beat you up in that school. You got to have some noodles up here to get through that. Are you a smart guy?
I'm okay. I'm more of an independent thinker, contrarian. It wasn't the perfect fit for me for what I wanted to accomplish after the service, but it was a good container. It was a good structure for me to come back into the civilian world.
So this is like you're 32 when this happens, right? You go in at 28, you're out at 32 going to college. You are what we would call a non-trad. You are not following the normal path, are you?
Never.
Have your parents at this time said, is there somebody you could meet in the world? Are they trying to hook you up and connect you with somebody, arranged marriages? Now, your wife is Colombian, is that right? Did you say?
She's Poland. She's from Warsaw, Poland.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet her?
That's when I was in Chicago, and just met at a dance club. And she had kind of broken English, and It was super cute, and we immediately hit it off. But she had to go back to Poland because she only had a 6-month visa, and it was near the end of her stay. And shortly after that time, I joined the military, and then I had this mission to Corsica, France. And I called her up. I was like, "Hey, I got a hotel room on this beautiful island in the Mediterranean. Why don't you come down and visit?" So we rekindled it from, right there. And we decided, all right, let's give this a proper shot. She agreed to move to Newport News, Virginia, where I was stationed. We got married and got an apartment and started our family.
So what does she think about being an American?
She loves it. She went through the whole process of naturalization and all the paperwork, and she has her issues with America and Americans, and just like anyone would with a different culture. But she's come to love and embrace it, I would say. I mean, it's interesting. We have an acre of land here. We have chickens. We have other, pets and animals and gardens. And she grew up in the center of Warsaw during communism, concrete jungle. I mean, I'm talking the center of that really large city. So this is a very different lifestyle, but she appreciates it.
Does she miss home? Does she go back often?
Every other year. Yep. They're there right now, actually. My wife and 3 children.
And that's why we can do this interview. There's no
noise. I'll join them in 10 days. And they haven't seen me in Poland. It's been 10 years since I've last visited. So my kids are going to be super pumped when I show up there for the first time with them. The last time I was there, they were too young to remember. So we're really excited.
And now the in-laws are going to give you that look like you're the you and your suave.
And then they're going to watch the kids while me and Anita take a trip down to Rome to get away for a little bit.
What do you do now for money?
Right now I work, I work at the House of Bricks with an entrepreneur, and we do business advisory for CEOs and founders of companies. And so that's coaching, executive coaching. And then we just started What the Truck, which is an experience platform that connects builders and military veterans through shared experiences and storytelling. And so that's our newest venture. And we have some more actually in the pipeline from the nexus. Whatever happens when you put entrepreneurs together with military veterans, we find that it creates so many opportunities for both sides.
Yeah, there is a man I reached out to. I helped him a little bit, and then he kind of fell off the table. I hope he's okay. It was called Turning Steel or Unturning Steel. And apparently that's a military term. When you go into a hot place, you just say turning steel, which just turns your mind and you're just there. You're just a weapon. So you're familiar with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pentagon, of course, is interested in fighting the war. So they're buying all the machineries and they're using the people to do that. And then there's not really a lot of, afterwards. I mean, we got the VA, we got the hospitals, but pretty much, figure it out. Mm-hmm. Now, there have been many, many, many grassroots organizations who have come up and embraced these veterans. And it's very heartwarming to see. It is. And his is one of them. And he would say, and I think it's quite accurate, Mike Rowe will talk about this, the need for people in the trades, the need for people to do hard, important, big things is perfectly needed for veterans who are kind of used to that. And they also have that need to serve a higher cause. And really, I just heard some sort of statistic that, last year China built, thousands of ships and we built 2 because there's nobody left to build these ships. And this is really all over America in all different kinds of manufacturing areas. There just is a shortage of determined, disciplined people to tackle these jobs with zeal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What the truck does?
Not exactly. I mean, we're in line with that. Um, but no, we're talking about the wisdom of war and from these experiences from the training, um, that like you, let's say, Jeff, you footed the bill for me to go to dive school, right? So that's easily $150,000. Not to mention boot camp and the washout course and all the other training, right? Then I go and do my service. I learn even more valuable things. I come back. Well, where does that go? Like, how are we going to, why would we ever just let that capacity, that unused capacity, just go to waste? Why not apply it into business, into our community, into whatever, into anything? And now we got these business owners who are there. What are they looking for? Well, they want leaders, right? They want people with strong character and values and work ethics. And we help them rethink where they can access those things.
I thought that's exactly what I was saying. So whatever you said, I'm with 100%. You are doing what that guy's doing. You're finding out how to get those people in. Shadow culture. What's that?
That's my own. That's my company that I created after I was working with the Veteran Resilience Project. I acquired this knowledge base that I call veteran cultural competence, and it's from interviewing military veterans and studying about the different talent profile of military veterans, communication styles, triggers, how to think differently about symptoms of post-traumatic stress as actually superpowers. And then I brought that to veteran hiring people, employers that want to hire military veterans. And I would talk to them about optimizing what that military veteran can provide for your organization if you had some cultural competence. Instead of saying, hey, come to our corporation, drink our Kool-Aid, we'll tell you all the answers. You just have to come in and forget what you brought. We'll tell you how to do your job best. All right. And so then that military veteran, great, you hired a military veteran, and in 9 months he's out the door because he's doesn't feel like he's being valued or applied in any way that challenges him enough to fulfill his need of meaning and purpose.
I feel in these kinds of endeavors, a necessary component is an onboarding procedure which maybe involves a second person to communicate between both sides so the guy gets his money's worth, right? So for example, you hire a kid or you hire somebody, they have to know exactly what is going to happen and have to be taught it in a way that is acceptable. Just like a person who speaks a different language. They're competent, but they have to learn the language, and you have to understand that they're not stupid. They speak another language in addition to yours. And I would say it's this way. It's respect. I've interviewed a lot of people in my life, and the managers who seem to do well are the ones who give respect. And they give that to you. You got to earn it, but they'll give you like a loan of respect. And when you get that loan of respect, if you answer that, then they'll give you more respect and more responsibility. And so it continues. So 5 years from now, what are you going? What's it going to look like? What do you want?
Well, I would like to have the vision for it. I would like to have a network of military veterans who have their own solo entrepreneurship. Maybe they have a training company that brings people on the range. Maybe they're a consultant. But I would like to build out this network and support them in their businesses. Help them. What we really are is a platform that can bring visibility to military veteran business owners, provide them visibility, amplify what they're doing, and then build out our own team. Like right now, we have a Green Beret on our team, Joshua Kent, who's been 18 years in the Green Berets. He's got 13 combat tours to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Africa. Taught the sniper school for 5 years for special forces. And there's a lot of guys like him that we would like to build a bench of trainers that we can then bring business people and civilians out onto the range and get to experience what it's like to learn from these guys that are training foreign forces around the world, and that operate at such a high level that that would be an incredible amplification of what we're doing. But then really just serving the purpose that I want to do is bring that wisdom and knowledge base back to America.
Right. That guy should have come and built your chicken coop for you. That's the guy you should have had. So let's just say that this is a platform to help you get that platform. In the comment section below, we'll put the connections. So if somebody said, this is the guy I need to talk to, hopefully that'll work for you. Hopefully you'll connect on that.
That'd be great.
Best piece of advice you ever got was what?
It's the principle of independent judgment that I learned when I joined the 86th Engineer Dive Team. When I walked in and started to meet squad leaders and platoon sergeant, I don't remember who told me, but they were very clear about it. And they said, look, you're going to meet a lot of people here. And you're going to meet people who don't have great relationships with other people. And they might tell you about those before you meet them. But I want you to have independent judgment. And you think about it in my life, there's people that I'm great friends with, and they give me something very unique that other people don't, but they piss off other people, and other people will tell you, why are you friends with that guy? I'm like, that guy's never done anything harmful to me and has only been a brother. And people have a lot to give, and everyone gives something unique. And so independent judgment to me was one of the things that I really cherished learning from, joining my dive team.
What's the best book you've read recently?
Well, it's probably How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. But my favorite book is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
Okay, not The Art of War by the Japanese guy.
No, The War of Art.
The War of Art. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's the resistance that we feel whenever we're creating something. We want to write a book or create some sort of art or even a business. That resistance that we feel, that's the war that we have to persevere through to be able to create that thing. And the bigger the goal, the bigger the project that you have, the more resistance you're going to feel. And that's actually how you know if it's a worthy goal, is how much resistance is there.
You must be fighting a pretty good war right now. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I am.
The art behind you, did you do any of those? Are you an artist as well?
I do think of myself as an artist, more multimedia, music and video and storytelling. But that image there was created off of my military story. An artist did that locally.
Which one is this now?
The one right there with it's probably hard to see.
Yeah, I see it.
Inside of the dive there, that you can see a submarine, a diver, a world that's turned up on its side.
The upside down submarine. I see that there.
Yep. Yeah. And you see
looks like a squid. I don't like that. It looks like it's an octopus.
An octopus. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then that smaller thing looks like a helmet. That's my Honor Man award. So I was the top of my class for dive school, and that was the plaque that they gave us.
And this is the old movies where they put that kind of thing on you, the big cast iron helmet that they bolt in with the little bit. Hopefully they're not using that anymore. Is that right?
Now we have fiberglass.
Fiberglass.
A lot lighter.
I have to say something that when your face is in a neutral position, you look fairly intimidating to me, and of course you're 6'5". Your face rests in sort of an intense gaze.
Is it the mustache?
No, it's between your eyes. It's between it's your forehead. The people say, just stay away from that guy. He looks like he's a little angry today.
Yeah, I do get that. Like when I went to business school, some people were like, the way they reacted to me, I was like, it was really odd because people who know me that I'm a just super laid back, easygoing dude. But people sometimes confuse my passion for anger or intensity. I do have intensity, but it's curious that you recognize that and said something.
I would say that just if you're in a crowd and you want to get somewhere through the crowd, I would suggest getting dark glasses, a suit, and then one of those kind of spiral things down the neck into your earpiece. And you could stride through any crowd in America and people would cut a wide swath. Get out of that guy's way. Something about to happen here, right? Paul, I want to help you in any way I can. What have I not talked about that would be helpful for you in any way?
Helpful. Well, people could check out our website, whatthetruck.live, to learn more about the ways we're connecting military veterans and business leaders. We're having an event in Detroit, August 13th at the M1 Concourse facility. So that's one way. I would love to be able to share some of the training that I've developed around veteran cultural competence and trying to address some of the myths and stereotypes about military veterans, because I think there still is a veteran civilian divide that I would like to see come together. And
when you see me and you heard, this guy never served, there's a little button go up, click. Okay, he didn't serve. Click. Am I across the divide there? Like, all right, this guy isn't legit. He never served. No,
no, I don't have that. And
you're a storyteller, which obviously I am too, right? That's what I call myself. What is it about? Why do you call yourself that? Tell me about that.
I think probably after I wrote that op-ed that everyone read, I was terrified because I was very honest. It was an assignment. I sent it to my professor and then I submitted it to the Star Tribune and I was like, cool, it's done. And when they reached out and told me they were going to print it, I was terrified. But then once I received I was reading the comments as they come in under the article, and people are reaching out to me and almost all positive. I felt this weight lift off of my shoulders.
Interesting.
And I was like, what is this? And then I come to find out that it could be considered a form of art therapy. Emoting into something, what your experiences are and helping you process that. So when I discovered that that's probably what it was, I was like, if it helped me this much, maybe it'll help others. And then I started to learn how to do podcasting and interviewing and video and audio and interviewing military veterans and help them tell their story, because that's the thing that really does connect people.
Absolutely right. I mean, once you gave that article to the Star Tribune, which is a newspaper in Minnesota, do they own it now? If we were to do a connection to that, would that go into their greedy belly and we wouldn't be able to get back out? Or can I share that in the comments, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the link is still active. They've since created a paywall on their site. I'm not sure if that is behind the paywall or not, but I have a hard copy of it. I could share. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a way we can share that.
I would say, I would just throw this out. If it was so effective then, it's still effective now. I would put that under your own banner. I would put it under whatever banner you want to tell your story on. And you could put under as featured in the Star Tribune or whatever. So give them some credence. But basically, it's your story, not theirs. So that's what I'm going to say.
I'm with you 100%.
I'm sticking it to the newspaper, man. Paul, ask me a question. We're getting to the end. I have been just nagging you, picking your brain. This is your chance, buddy. Get back at me. One question and one question only.
All right. After all the conversations you've had, what have people taught you about how to live a meaningful life that you could not have learned any other way?
Ask it again.
What have people taught you about how to live a meaningful life that you couldn't have learned any other way other than by having conversations?
Wise. I mean, that's when you said that, you've spoken to the power of conversation. I mean, you get up in life and you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you just, maybe you set goals, whatever, but it's all you centered. And that is, that's not good because you only have a limited perspective.
Mm-hmm.
To have as many conversations as possible. I would say the most powerful, we say superpower. I'll say mine is curiosity. I am okay with being curious, and I have never let anybody I've never let people dampen that curiosity. When we met, I asked you that question because I was curious. I was not putting you in a box. I was curious. Mm-hmm. When I see a person walk into a building and they walk a certain way or they wear a certain thing, I'm the progressive commercial. I'm the guy who comes up and has to ask the question. Maybe it's nosy. I call it being curious. Today, what time is it? In about half an hour, I'll have to meet with a family whose son was killed in a skydiving accident. I do about 700. I've done 700 funerals. And you get down to it, Paul. You get down to it right now because this is literally life and death. And it isn't like, tell me about yourself and where'd you go on vacation? It's just tell me about this person. And with curiosity and empathy, I ask questions just like I'm asking you. Why was he like that? What is your lesson you take away from that? What did he do with that? And it is 700 years of 700 funerals of game tapes, thousands of years that have helped me change decisions that I have made. So kind of one of the reasons I started this podcast is that obviously wouldn't be possible to have a podcast where I'm interviewing people about a funeral person. They wouldn't like it. Nobody would like that. But I can talk to people when they're alive. And my thought is, Paul, that your story changed people's perspectives. Not in a big way, but they went, huh. And I find that word that isn't a word, huh. When you hear that, that's very powerful. It means their gears are turning, the gears are working. You've made a difference. When people saw that op-ed piece in the paper, many people went, huh. Mm-hmm. So much so that a percentage of those wrote down and sent that to you. I just want to say, you are doing great things. And it has, yes, of course, it's all the things you've done, 1,000 points and, here and there, and their award on the wall. Good for you. That is not what the reward is. What God has made you to do is to take the lessons you've learned and cast that into another person in a way that will help them change their direction. That is what you're doing. And I don't know if
Thank you for that.
I don't know that a paycheck's at the end of it. I hope is. I hope it's really big. I hope you get 2 acres, and now you can get a pig farm too on top of that. No, don't get pigs. Don't get pigs. Sheep maybe, no pigs. No pigs.
I appreciate you sharing that with me, Jeff. And it's been it's really interesting how we met, and the fact of that you had that curiosity to ask that question. It just opened up a whole possibility of conversation.
It makes you wonder, Paul, how many stories you pass on the street that you never get a chance to talk to, right? I see people that put the earbuds in and they got the 1,000-yard stare because they're listening to some podcast, which is fine. Obviously, I'm doing the same thing. I'm telling podcasts. I never wear earbuds because I know there's a good chance I'll find a really good story today if I just keep my eyes open.
Yeah, and when my children left for Poland, they were already there, and I just felt the need to tell them this. I just said, "Look, you're going to meet a lot of new people, and God is going to reveal Himself through those people that you encounter on your trip." And the next phone call, they're like, "Daddy, that is so true. Like, we've been meeting all these incredible people that helped us or surprised us in some way or shared something really cool with us." And so I do the same. I try not to close myself off when I'm out in the world.
Well, it's a small world, and we have some time in this small world. There's a chance we'll get a chance to meet and shake each other's hands again. But I do feel like this has been, I find it so interesting, Paul, and maybe you as well, that in these conversations, I feel like you make a friend. Interesting, right? Really interesting how with curiosity and mutual respect, you can turn virtual strangers into connected friends in kind of a quick period of time.
100%.
If you're ever in my neck of the woods, reach out to me. If I can help you in any way, please let me know what that would look like. And I just want to congratulate you on a really interesting story that you are living. And I hope the next chapters are even more fulfilling than they've been so far.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you.
God bless.